There are moments in art when beauty becomes dangerous, when a single image dares to ask why darkness can look so human. This is one of those moments. A fallen angel, captured not as a monster but as a young man trembling between rage and sorrow, stares back at us with eyes that refuse to lie. And suddenly, the line between the sacred and the damned feels thinner than we ever imagined. In the quiet glow of a museum hall, this painting confronts anyone who stands before it. It does not whisper. It does not comfort. It challenges. It asks why we are drawn to the tragic, why we soften toward the very figure meant to embody rebellion and ruin. It compels us to wonder who truly decides what beauty is, and what happens when the face of evil looks heartbreakingly familiar. Its power comes not from the brushstrokes alone, but from the question buried beneath them. What if the devil was not born terrifying? What if he fell only after he broke? This is why the painting matters. Because at its core lies a reflection of every human struggle, pride, pain, defiance, and the quiet ache of being misunderstood. And if a mere image can make us feel all of this, then perhaps the story behind it is far more than art. Perhaps it is a mirror held up to the oldest wound in creation. It began long before the canvas ever touched the light of a studio. Long before the colors were mixed, before the young painter lifted his brush. The seed of this work was planted in a question that haunted humanity for centuries. How can beauty and defiance live in the same soul? Artists had painted angels in gold and purity, demons in fire and shadow. But no one dared to explore the fragile space in between. Then came Alexandre Cabanel, a young French artist searching for something more than admiration. He wanted to expose the moment the universe cracked. The instant light turned its face away from the most radiant of angels. He imagined the fall not as an explosion of chaos, but as a single shiver of emotion in a being who had once known perfection. This was the spark. The realization that the fall was not merely a punishment, but a story of pride colliding with destiny. A story that was never truly told through the monstrous forms of medieval fear. Cabanel sensed that the tragedy of Lucifer was not in the rebellion itself, but in the heartbreak of losing heaven's warmth. And in that quiet spark, something radical was born. A new vision. A dangerous one. The idea that the devil could be painted not as a creature of terror, but as a figure of exquisite grief. As Cabanel's idea took shape, it grew like a storm gathering strength on the horizon. He began sketching the contours of a figure caught between two worlds, not yet monstrous, not yet resigned to damnation. The studio filled with studies of muscles held in tension, of hands clenched not in hatred but in disbelief, of eyes that burned with something far more complicated than rage. He returned again and again to the subtle details, the wings folded in humiliation, the body twisted in a posture that felt both proud and wounded, the light that grazed the skin as if it still remembered heaven. Each stroke of the brush brought the fallen angel closer to life, shaping not a villain but a tragic protagonist in an ancient cosmic drama. Outside the studio, the art world was shifting. Romanticism had taught audiences to seek emotion, to crave the beauty hidden in sorrow. The world was ready for complexity, ready for heroes who bled and villains who felt. Cabanel sensed this hunger, and he leaned into it, letting the painting evolve into something bold and unsettling. Slowly, the image transformed from an experiment into a declaration. The fallen angel was no longer just a mythic figure. He was the embodiment of every human who had tasted pride, faced consequence, and wrestled with their own reflection. And as the painting neared completion, its message sharpened. This was not a portrait of evil. This was the moment before corruption. The breath between innocence and darkness. The exact second a celestial being realizes he has lost everything he ever loved. Then came the moment when the painting crossed a boundary no one expected. The crisis was not on the canvas. It was in the reaction it provoked. When people first saw Cabanel's fallen angel, they did not recoil as centuries of doctrine had taught them to. Instead, they paused. They stared. Some even felt a strange pull of sympathy. The devil, the eternal symbol of corruption, looked unbearably human. Too human. This was the rupture. The instant when beauty collided with fear, when art defied theology. Critics whispered that Cabanel had made Lucifer alluring, almost pure in his despair. Others felt uneasy, sensing that the painting exposed a truth they did not want to face. That evil does not always arrive with horns and fire. Sometimes it begins as a wound. Sometimes it looks like heartbreak. The rhythm of the moment slowed, heavy with contradiction. In the fallen angel's clenched fists and trembling gaze, the viewer confronted a cosmic betrayal that felt strangely familiar. His eyes gleamed with fury, yet behind that fury hid a grief so deep it seemed to echo inside the room. And with that, the painting became a mirror. A dangerous one. It reflected not a demon, but the unbearable complexity of choices, mistakes, and consequences. The line between villain and victim blurred. The story of the fall no longer seemed like a myth about someone else. It felt like a warning whispered to every soul capable of rising and breaking. This was the heart of the crisis. A revelation that beauty could make the forbidden understandable, and that understanding could make us question everything we thought we knew. In the quiet after the shock, something deeper began to settle. Viewers who had first approached the painting with unease started to recognize what Cabanel had truly created. This was not a glorification of rebellion. It was an invitation to understand the fragility beneath it. The fallen angel's beauty did not excuse his defiance. It revealed the humanity hidden within the myth, the part of the story that had always been there yet rarely acknowledged. Slowly, a new understanding emerged. The painting showed that even the brightest beings can fracture, that pride is not born from malice but from longing, and that loss can reshape even the most radiant souls. The tragedy of the fall was not the punishment, but the awareness of what had been lost. And in that awareness, something universal shimmered. The rhythm of the narrative softened. The viewer no longer looked at the fallen angel with fear or admiration, but with a quiet acceptance. A recognition that the painting was not about divinity or damnation alone. It was about the human condition, mirrored in celestial form. The blend of strength and vulnerability. The tension between ambition and consequence. The moment we realize we cannot return to what we once were. And so, through its unsettling beauty, the painting gave birth to a simple, profound truth: understanding a fall does not mean justifying it. It means seeing the full depth of a story that was always more than good versus evil. It means acknowledging that even in darkness, echoes of light remain. At the height of its meaning, the painting rises above myth and doctrine, reaching a place where beauty, tragedy, and truth intertwine. Here, the fallen angel becomes more than a figure exiled from heaven. He becomes a symbol of the fragile thread connecting glory and ruin. A reminder that the line between ascension and collapse is never as distant as we want to believe. In this moment of philosophical clarity, the viewer understands why Cabanel chose beauty instead of monstrosity. Because beauty forces us to look closer. Because beauty compels empathy. And empathy cracks open the door to a deeper revelation, that even the darkest stories begin with a moment of misunderstood light. The fallen angel's gaze, fierce yet wounded, becomes a question carved in color. What if rebellion was not born from hatred, but from the unbearable weight of wanting more than one was meant to have? The narrative reaches its peak here, suspended in a delicate balance between awe and unease. The painting speaks without words, whispering that every soul carries the potential for both radiance and collapse. That pride can lift us and break us. That beauty can illuminate and deceive. And that the most powerful truths are often hidden inside contradictions we fear to face. This is the ascent. The moment when the story transcends its frame. When the fallen angel is no longer just a character in an ancient celestial drama, but a reflection of the human heart itself. In the final quiet of the story, the fallen angel seems to draw one last breath across the canvas. His beauty no longer shocks. It lingers. It settles into a truth we can no longer unsee. Cabanel's vision leaves us with a gentle, unsettling realization. That every fall carries a memory of the heights above it. That every act of defiance carries a shadow of longing. And that even in the figures we were taught to fear, there is a trace of the same fragile humanity that lives within us. The painting stands as a silent witness to our contradictions, to our ambition and our sorrow, to the way we break and the way we rise again. Its message is not one of redemption or condemnation. It is a reminder that understanding is more powerful than fear, and that looking at darkness does not mean being consumed by it. It means recognizing the complexity of the choices that shape us. As you step away from the image, a final question follows you, soft but impossible to ignore. If even the devil can be painted in the light of human sorrow, then what other truths lie hidden behind the stories we think we already understand? And perhaps, this was only the beginning.